Welcome back, everyone. Didn't take me long tonight to get the first mistake of the show out of the way. Forgot to press the intro button. Welcome back, everyone. Lovely Sunday evening. It's the 13th. Lucky for some hope. I've got my usual superstar, super panel guests. Let's bring the first one in. That is one of my regulars, Danny from Spain. Evening, Danny.
Evening, everyone.
And
all right?
Yep. a new dad to be again. Congratulations, Danny.
Oh, Paul. I don't know
for punishment.
I've got to be mental, mate. I'll tell you, I'm definitely getting more involved in that movement next year.
We got Richard Inman. How you doing, Richard?
I'm doing well. Good to see you, boys. Good to see you, audience.
Lovely, mate. And we've got a nice surprise guest this evening. Someone whose channel that I always watch, always enjoy. And I think you guys probably do too. That is Tim Davis from Fast Jet Performance. Good evening, Tim.
Yeah, good to see you. Thanks so much. Appreciate being here.
Welcome to the show, mate. It's lovely to have you here. Thank you very much. So I'm going to start off with you, Tim. Look, I think most people watching will probably be aware of you and your channel, but for those that aren't, give us a quick, brief intro of yourself.
Well, much like your channel, which started off in watches and then went into being an absolute patriot, trying to stand up for your country. You know what I mean? I think my channel's done something very similar, actually. I was talking about aviation content, Paul, as I'm sure you know. And then, of course, we see what's happening to the country, don't we? And I can't stand still on it, having served for 20 years in the military. So I'm even thinking about going back in, to be fair, at the age of 50, as I am now. But yeah, so I talk about aviation content. I run a school called Shadowland, which is online flying training in a virtual cloud space where I teach flying training. And of course, I try and do whatever I can to support the people of this country against what's happening to it. That's it.
So an all-round good guy in action, man on the side, eh? How about...
I don't know about that.
Richard, how you been, mate?
Yeah, been good, mate. Just mad busy. I mean, getting ready for the 26. You know, it's like there's just things popping up, and you're firefighting here, there, and everywhere. So we've got me and Tommy's got a big meeting with the police tomorrow to get all the final touches done, and then just a little walk around to do, and then that's us ready to go. And then we've got a little trip away at the weekend, but I'll not say too much about that.
Fantastic. We got just 1,000 people watching already. It always takes them 4 or 5 minutes to get in, so we give it a few minutes before we get off on tonight's big subject. Tim, I've got to ask you, mate. I mean, just like me, as you said, you know, you're into your watches. What made you decide to suddenly stick your head over the parapet? Because you know you're going to get shot at, right? So you've taken your life probably from someone that's, you know, very in the comfort zone, if you like. I certainly was in a comfort zone. What made you decide to step out of that?
Well, we've been shot at, right? You know what I mean? Yeah, no, to be honest with you, how would you not? What are you going to do? We're only on this planet for so long, aren't we? I'm 50. I'm probably going to last for another, a couple of decades max. But I don't want the country to be different to what I enjoyed growing up in and the investment that all the British people have put into it, to be fair. My father was a police officer for 37 years. He was a Royal Marine before that. In my family, my father's father, all the way goes back into the military. And I'm sure they wouldn't have wanted me to stand vacant and not do anything about what's going on now. I mean, if you've got a voice, and all of us have a small voice, even if you're someone that has no internet presence and maybe you just work in a factory or you work in a business or something, you still got a voice in that small space that you actually you occupy. And all it takes is for this. I think it's not even people like yourself, Paul, speaking out. Well, that's brilliant that you do, and you don't have to, by the way, because you could have been nice, safe, secure, comfortable. Although I would have most personally looked at people very differently if they hadn't spoken out, especially when they've got the ability to do so. But even I think it's the people in the small businesses areas, in the small companies, that should be speaking out more amongst their people at lunch, amongst their people, their friends and their family, and saying this isn't acceptable, not to British people, not to English men and women. And I don't want to get, I mean, that flag over there come off a warship I was on. You know, I served on a warship, that flag came off. I didn't have to be in the warship, did I? I didn't have to join up for that. So you're never not going to, Paul, is what I'm saying. I can't imagine any Englishman not. I just don't want to be around people that wouldn't. You know, it doesn't make sense.
I understand that. I totally get it. Unfortunately, Danny, there's too many people still unwilling to do so.
Well, Paul, at the moment, right, Starmer done a great job, didn't he, in frightening everyone to do with the riots? Because I've had several people now message me about the 26th saying, oh, we're worried about going because of being picked out and stuff like that. And I've assured them it's not that type of thing. We've already said face masks are not welcome. It's going to be a peaceful protest. And if you don't, you can't moan about what's going on. You can't go down the pub and moan about what's going on with your friends if you're not going to stand up and do something about it, or you're going to a barbecue, or you're going to your friend's house for a curry or something. You can't do that and moan if you're not going to stand up and do something about it. So, I urge everyone to come up there.
Come
I'm
along on
flying
the
in.
26th,
Richard's
yeah.
flying in. Tommy's taking big steps to be there on the day, and we've all got to just try. And what else can we do? Just lay down arms and just let them just take over and do what they need to do? No, not for me, mate.
Richard, for you, are enough people stepping up to the plate yet, or are we
You know
still
what?
well short?
I tell you what, I'm really encouraged. And Tim, I watched your content as well for a long time. I love the bit sitting in the car and you're just doing what I do. Just looking at the screen, just going, this is just so bad. We've got to do something about it. And the frustration, and it's not even aggression or anger. It's frustration and passion comes out in bucket loads. And so, what you've done, Tim, inspired me. I hope I inspire other people. Tommy's inspired all of us. Paul's inspired me and taught me a different way of doing things where I'm not quite as aggressive as I was maybe 2 or 3 years ago. So, we all learn off each other and we all sort of look at what everyone else is doing. And there's a verse in the Bible that says, iron sharpens iron. And that's what we're doing. We're sharpening each other and making each other do what we do, because you can't not do it. When there's so much at stake, and we've got 5 years to do this, 10 max, but I think it's 5 years to turn this ship round. So how can anybody not do it? And again, Tim, well done, and thanks for coming on tonight, because the more of us that can get together and network and talk to each other, the easier it's going to be.
Just a quick warning for the viewers tonight. I am suffering from the dreaded man flu. We're having a little chat, and it's 4-1 that I might not even get through the stream. So bear with me, guys. We're going to get into the main topic today, and that is the Conservative Party, Robert Jenrick and Kemi Badenoch, who I think are Labour's new best bullshit friends, and I'll tell you why. I've written this down, so I like to read this bit. Both Conservative Party leadership candidates have been making a lot of noise over the last couple of weeks. In particular, Robert Jenrick, who's been doing his level best to try and sound like a cross between Winston Churchill and Tommy himself. The truth is, I've got the right raving ump with not only the Conservative Party, but also its members, and particularly with both Jenrick and Badenoch. Who the hell do these two ne'er-do-wells think they are, and who do they think they're kidding? Catfishing us with their fake patriotism, phony right-wing rhetoric that we all know will be left at the door of number 10 should either of them ever get their foot through the door. So how do we know that to be the case? Well, we know because the Tories have a 14-year track record of being cowardly, weak liars who failed to deliver at every single opportunity that we gave them. They lied, they ignored, they cheated, and they gaslit their way through 3 terms and 5 prime ministers, all of whom delivered absolutely nothing that we, the voters, demanded. Why should any of us ever again believe a single word that comes out of any Conservative's mouth? Badenoch doesn't even want to leave the ECHR. Now, there's a clue as to what would lie ahead under her charge. And Jenrick was a Remainer. Honestly, just piss off the pair of you. But I haven't finished yet. Also in for an earful this evening are the Tory voters and the Tory party members. If you really care about our country, if you really are a genuine Conservative, then open your goddamn eyes and come to terms with the fact that 14 years of a busted flush is enough for anyone. And that you are now actually as big a danger to this country as Labour, with your continued blind support for a party that is over, done, dead and buried. Guys, over to you. Tim, what did you make of that? Tell me what you agree with, disagree with.
I think the Conservatives are a bit worse than that, because we felt they were the party that was going to sort this out.
Exactly.
And that's the problem. So I wouldn't look at Conservative politics again for another 4 years at least. And even then, how would you trust them again after that 14 years? It's not. I mean, if you look at the values that we have in this, we're a very proud nation, of course. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of work that people put in every single day towards their families and towards the businesses and towards the companies that they're in, and just trying to bring in good money so they can have a decent life. And I just think that the Conservatives took that away. I don't think they have any interest whatsoever in listening to, and I hate saying the people, Paul, you know what I mean? Because but they are our representatives, and they are there because of us. And when you look at people like Jenrick, and I had high hopes for Badenoch, to be fair, I think we all did, didn't we, really? But I just don't see anyone that's going to be up there just with the interests of the people. And I also see the country's leaning so far left at the moment. Maybe we are more left than we ever realized, but maybe it's just a Twitter thing that I'm in. But I just, I've got family members of that far left as well. And I just think, do people really feel like this? Because there's no coming back from this. There just isn't coming back from it, unless, this is why I don't think we should even listen to, it's a uni party, isn't it? We all know that. They're very much aligned with Europe and the EU and what they want to do. Immigration is all part of a massive plan, isn't it? I guess, to lower wages, increase GDP, but not per capita, of course. And I just think we're in that space that unless the people stand up and just say, this is not right. We obviously understand that democracy is not working. It's not right, but it's how we do that, Paul. And I haven't got an answer for it. And I hate the fact that I don't have an answer for it, because I thought we could vote in that answer. And obviously, we can't vote.
Well, that's been the problem, hasn't it, lads? Right, all of us. I mean, the problem has been is that for 3 terms we thought if we vote Conservative again, this time we're going to get what we want. But when you look at that record, what was it? 5 prime ministers, 5, and not one of them had the brass neck to stand up and do what needed to be done. But having said that, to be fair, the Conservative Party is so full of wets anyway. They haven't got a goddamn chance. Doesn't really matter who's in charge.
Yeah, I mean, Paul, I go back to what we've been working on. When when you're asking, Tim, you're asking for solutions. I mean, we've been working on a project called The Pledge, and it's been going really amazingly well. We've only kind of launched it in a very, very sort of soft and gentle way. We're going to do a lot more after the 26th, and I think it's all to do with that, Paul. I think if we can get the pledge to the level we want, then we have a massive amount of goodwill from the British people that we can take to the politicians and say, right, basically what you need to do is adopt these principles and make them into some sort of policy and see where we go. And again, we've got the other parties as well. And, we're not going to get into the big battles that we've been talking about on this channel for ages, but there is more than one option on the right, so I think there are possibilities. The uni party's dead. The Labour Party will implode, but by the time the next election comes around, and if people are stupid enough to put the Tories back in again, then they really need to go and see a psychiatrist. Like people that vote Labour need to go and see a psychiatrist.
To put what? Sorry, Labour back in again? Did you say?
Put the Tories.
The Tories. Yeah. Let's have a little look at. I've got a little video here of Jenrick. I think we should watch. He's even wearing a reform tie. Look.
Shadowing Farage of just being a sort of pale imitation. Why not just vote Farage?
Well, firstly, the reason Nigel Farage is saying those things is because he's rattled. He is worried.
Is he?
He is worried.
Doesn't look that rattled.
Well, he's talking about me a lot. And he's worried that having a leader of the Conservative Party with my track record and with the policies and agenda that I stand for will be very difficult for them. It will make them redundant because we'll suck the oxygen away from them. And we will be the serious party that is intent on securing our borders, tackling crime, strong defences, the things that reform voters care about. But also, the polling suggests that in addition to that, bringing home those reform voters back to their natural home, the Conservative Party,
Is it the
I am
natural home?
best
Do
placed placed to bring back the Lib Dem and the Labour voters. And that is what's important, because we've got to be that broad church. We've got to get back into government.
Isn't the problem,
that means bringing people back from all over the political spectrum.
I mean, it almost makes me want to puke listening to that. And I know, Richard, I know that me and you are not going to agree on this, and it's probably not the right time or place for us to have a lover's tiff. But look, for me, I'm going to say this. I know that you're going to be standing in UKIP's corner. I personally am going to stick with reform for now, at least, in the hope of changing them. But if Jenrick and people like Sweller Braveman really love this country as much as they allege they do, why don't they jump ship and join the party that can really do the business? Or is it the other way round? I mean, there's talk this week of Boris and Farage doing some kind of deal.
Well, I mean, Paul, I've got to be totally straight, and I don't want to get into a battle on this, but I've got to be totally straight. Let's be honest, the Reform Party is the Tory party, just slightly more right-wing. They all come from the Tory party, all the headshed. Mohammed Yusuf, which incidentally he's hiding that name, incidentally he's calling himself Zia when his real name's Mohammed Zia Yusuf. Mohammed Yusuf, Nigel Farage, Richard Tyson, they're all ex-Tories, every one of them. So to me, you're getting more of the same. Might be slightly more right-wing. They're not going to solve the problems. I'm sorry, that's just the way I feel. Now, I know I'm going to get dug out loads in the comments, but I don't really care anymore, because the truth is, I've got to tell the truth. You know, if I'm coming on here to talk about what I think has to happen, I can't come on here and just say, tickle people's ears and say, well, I want to say this because I want to please people.
No, and Richard, we know you wouldn't do that. My only
Yeah.
issue with that is the fact that I'm just realist in the respect that I can't see UKIP being able to form a government.
Well, I can't see reform unless reform changed dramatically, right? And I'll be honest with you, the only person that can change reform, I don't think, is even in reform at the minute, and that's Ben Habib.
Ben Habib, yeah.
If Ben was in reform, but he'd need a lot of people behind him to basically make change, and it means that you're going to be in a battle in reform for maybe 2 or 3 years to get that change made. And I think that's what worries me, is we don't have time to mess about. So that's where I think the pledge comes in, Paul, because the pledge sits above politics.
Yeah.
Even though it's political and it's cultural, it sits above all that. And it basically says these are the principles that British people believe in. In fact, Tim, we'll send you, because you probably haven't got a clue what we're talking about with the pledge. We'll send you the link to the pledge after the show, so you can have a look at it. But that's what the pledge is about, because the pledge calls all of these people to account. Because if you were a Tory and you signed the pledge, well, then you'd be held to account for it. If you're in Reform and you signed it, if you're in UKIP, so it's above politics. Even though I'm politically UKIP, the pledge is above all that for me. You know, political parties come and go, but the pledge is something that can really change British history, in my opinion. And
what about the Tory voters out there? Is it time that they open their eyes? I mean, where are they going to be? Tim, where can they find a home?
We've got to now start thinking. We've got to start thinking. I mean, I think they're going to tell a massive story in the local elections. What is it, May next year? Yeah. I think you're going to find that the Labour support will be very, very, very low. They've done so much damage.
It doesn't necessarily reflect,
but it gives us an idea, doesn't
it?
Yeah. But it still gives us a bit of an idea where it's going. I know that the Labour Party got in, recently on a very low vote, but I think it will tell, and I do think this will bring people out, because it's been so bad under Labour. I do think it'll bring people out to start voting, and that's all we can hope. And especially if they've signed the pledge, we can then lend the vote to the party that deserves it at the time. But we've still got time for them to sort of rearrange, juggle until we decide, like Richard's sort of swaying towards UKIP. You're sticking at the moment with Reform, but at the moment it's going to be between one of the two.
I'll tell you why I'm sticking with Reform. I'm sticking with Reform at the moment because I'm hoping that we can change them. I'm hoping that Reform will change to meet our concerns rather than us having to move political parties to get our requirements. Tim, where are you standing politically right now, if you don't mind me asking?
So I've taken a bit of a different sort of line on all this, and I understand where Richard's coming from, and understand I've seen the pledge before. Don't get me wrong; it's not something that I'm not aware of, but I'm looking at individual personal values and standards. So I just think I'll use Englishman because obviously British or Britishness is more of an export variant, isn't it, of the countries that obviously we live in, the British Isles. But I look at individual personal standards. So I think that people, as we do, need to start clearing up their own areas. I know people do this. So I'm talking about going on the street, picking up litter, or getting graffiti off things, looking after yourself, trying to eat healthily, trying to get some exercise, even if it's walking your dog twice a day. You know what I mean? I think it starts with the individual, then it manifests it to your family, and it goes into your local community. And before you know it, there are communities then, and I hate talking about communities because we always talk about, don't we, the Muslim community, the Jewish community, we all talk about communities where it should be just the English community or the British community if you want to do that, but the English community. And it should be everyone in that community. And I don't think that's happening because we've allowed people to have community leaders. And I just think that as English men and women, of which of course a lot of different minority groups are also, we need to embrace those together with all the standards that make up Englishness. We need to look after our areas. We can't let them fall in disrepute. And I understand the UKIP reform, but remember, part of this, of the uniparty, the globalists, whatever you want to talk about it, is to keep us divided. It's just to keep us talking about things like we're talking about now. Do you want to be voting UKIP? UKIP's going to be different in 3 or 4 years. I mean, the reform's going to be different. I mean, everything's changing. The Conservatives, is it really going to be generic? Is he really going to win an election? That man, is he really going to win an election, or is someone else going to come in the next 3 or 4 years? So they're trying to keep us all divided. Whereas, as Englishmen, obviously I'm saying Englishmen, English women, I'm saying we're bigger and better than that. We don't get hoodwinked by these politicians coming in trying to keep us all talking about this. It's up to us to make sure that we're living, better, more wholesome, more noble lives. That's how I feel about it. And protecting our families and helping individuals in our communities grow up and actually do proper business or get jobs and I know it's hard to say because of course we're not feeling like we're changing the British politics, but Right now, I don't think we can. We've got 5 years to sit this one out on delay, which is going to be a nightmare. All right, so we can argue about it for the next 5 years if you want to, or we can do something worthwhile and just help our local towns, our local villages grow whilst we still can. And then when the elections come up, if there's someone we can lean into, we will. It's complex, Paul, and I don't really have an answer to it, as I said.
It's very, very complex. So let me grab a couple of super chats. Thank you very much. Epic 2000. I will never vote Tory again, given Jenrick has taken policy ground from reform. Reform must take more from UKIP. No messing around. Nina Vanava. Thank you very much, Nina. Hi, my lovelies. I would never ever vote for Labour or Conservative. Hope to see you on the 26th. I have to say, I really enjoy listening to you all. Always talk good sense. God bless. You'll have to have a word with my wife because she doesn't think I talk a lot of sense.
I know that feeling, Paul.
Debs, thank you. Makes me so mad what's happening in this country. I wish I could be there on the 26th, but partner, end of life, and now my dad, and I'm expecting to look after. Bless you, Debs. Good luck with that. Sorry to hear that. And, you can be there in spirit, can't you? Lee Ryder, thank you, Lee. We do not realise in 10 to 15 years we will be in a minority and these scumbags will sell us off as they think their kids will survive. Hence, they so interested in space. Just a thought, no offence. Not quite sure I get that. Do you get that one, Richard?
Yeah, I think he's talking about populating space. I think he's on about Elon Musk wanting to.
Oh, okay. That's
That's
why I didn't get it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, at the end of the day, the country is in a muddle. I was watching Liam Tufts earlier on. He had a psychologist guy on his magnificent podcast earlier on, and he said he believes that Keir Starmer is a narcissist, and he's a dangerous man. I mean, I don't know. What's your views on Starmer, Tim? As a person, have you come to any conclusion with him as a human being?
Yeah, he says he doesn't dream. Now, I drank alcohol for a long period of time. I didn't really dream too much either, but that man doesn't seem to be the same that I was, you know what I mean? But it just means, I think if you don't dream, you're not interested in stories. If you're not interested in stories, you're not interested in, journeys and success and this kind of stuff. He seems like a bit of an automaton. I think he should worry us because he doesn't come across as anyone that has any, I don't want to use the word passion, purpose might be better. Like, what are we doing with him in charge of the country? No, we always knew this was going to be a disaster. But if you look at the seniors in the Labour Party, and I don't want to be that guy that says it, there's no one there that's inspirational. It's like zero. You'd rather have Corbyn in. Like, my sister's like a big lefty, right? She'd even look at Corbyn and go, well, at least he was, he's inspirational to her, right? So she can get behind Corbyn. No one gets behind Starmer. No one's going to want to meet Starmer or want to meet Angela Rayner. I don't know anyone that wants to meet Reeves it just doesn't make sense to me, So I don't know. See, I'm a big fan of like leadership coming from within, and I don't think any of those people just have anything. And it's almost like the country is grey and soulless, and we've just installed these people at the top now just to confirm this country is nothing anymore. I tell you about
That's a really good take. Good take.
It just seems like the British weather has become everything, and we can deal with British weather, right? Because I'm a pluviophile. I like the rain and stuff because we live on an island. We have to, right? But it's like people now are writing to me like, "Are you leaving?" They're always saying to me, "Are you leaving?" I don't know if anyone said to you guys, "Are you leaving the UK?" And I'm like, I'll be the last here. I'll be the last guy on the island because this is the island, right? I grew up here. My father, everything else. But there's a lot of people leaving. Like, people are moving out of the UK, and I don't understand it. Apart from the fact it's like, I think we're the second most unhappy nation in the world or something now. I done this poll, and it's just, I can understand it in a way why people are going. When you got places like Dubai, 0% tax, all that kind of shit, it just makes sense.
I tell you what, Tim, look, I could be one of those people, but the reasons that I would be one of those people is that I want to get my daughters and my granddaughters out of the way of harm. Because
I like looking at you, Paul. But if that is the case, I understand that because
I just don't feel. I mean, my number one job as a dad, as a husband, and as a grandfather, is to ensure the safety of my girls, my babies.
But I get it, Paul. I get it. I'm not trying to convince you to stay, but I'll be honest with you, Paul. It's got to be good people left here, and if there isn't, and I get it, family first, 110%. I get it. I haven't got kids. I don't understand that because I do understand it, but I'm not the same as you, and I'm lucky in that respect because I don't have to go anywhere. But if we don't stand for something, you stand for nothing. So what else do we stand for? I mean, my father was a Welshman. He was born in the valleys down in Neath and Gleneath. And then he went into the Royal Marines and he went into the police force. So for 37 years, I'm an Englishman. I was born in England, but I've got a bit of Welsh blood and I served most of my Royal Air Force career in Scotland. I'm quite familiar with the British Isles, I'd like to think. So we have to stand for something. And I think this is the problem, Paul. This is the issue. We haven't got people willing to stand up and say that the country we live in is a great country. People challenge me, Paul, on the internet, speaking English. They're speaking my language and they're telling me how bad my country is. This is not acceptable. I don't understand why we even allowing this to happen. You're like, delete, you're gone, out. I'm not even having a conversation with you, mate. Not being funny. I mean, the whole world, you got to look what we gave to the rest of the world. I mean, why are people coming here if it's such a bad country?
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? But I do
Here's the
understand.
thing. Do we think this problem, Richard, do you think this problem at the moment is starting in the schools? Because I firmly believe it's starting in the schools. We have a massive problem.
Well, I think it started in the universities and then it filters down to the schools because obviously all the teachers are taught in the university, so it trickles down. So basically, if you have bad lecturers in universities that are teaching people all this sort of woke, and obviously it's not every single discipline where they're teaching. Well, it was, but now it is every discipline. Everything's been radicalized. Everything's been turned into, it's about identity politics. And once that gets a grip of the teachers, the police force, the Home Office, the government, so you've got a pincer movement. You've got the woke and the globalists and the communists, and you've got the Islamists all trying to make a grab for the UK. And obviously, and this is where I disagree with Tim. I think we've got to have a foot in the door with politics some way. Because the Islamists have got as many MPs as Reform. They've got 5 MPs, and Reform's got 5 MPs. I mean, and we're not talking about moderate Muslims here. They are hardcore Islamists that got themselves elected on a pro-Hamas ticket, and they're sitting in Parliament now, and they're infiltrating every area of government and society. You've got the globalists and the communists who have been running the show for years. I mean, let's get it right. When David Cameron left office, he went and worked for the Chinese Communist Party for 2 years, trying to sell the Belt and Road Initiative throughout Europe. So the whole structure is completely compromised, and it's a massive battle to get it back. But so it doesn't just start in the schools; it's everywhere, and it's the job of actually turning this around. And Tommy said a very interesting thing earlier. He said we need that 48% of people that didn't vote in the last election registered and voting, because if we get that, then we can turn things around. So the working class Brits that go, doesn't matter, I'm not voting, it doesn't change anything. No, it does matter. It absolutely
every
matters.
vote.
Get involved, and you've got it, because if we can't vote these people out, what other option have you got? The only option is a violent revolution, and the Brits don't do violent revolution. It's got to be a political solution, and that's why I go back to the pledge, because the pledge sits above everything.
As all this become more highlighted, guys, I throw this open to all of you. As the problems in the UK all become far more highlighted and more obvious since last October.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Totally.
And why do you? I believe it has, but you tell me why you think it has. Who wants to go first?
I just had a monologue, so I'm letting someone else go. And I've got
Tim.
some
Do you think, Tim? Do you think it's been more highlighted, the problems in the UK since last October?
It's been more highlighted. Well, I've been thinking about this for a long time because I was thinking like this under Conservatives as well.
Yeah.
So, has it been since last October? I don't know. Maybe it's woken a few people up, I guess, but I don't think it necessarily changed me that much. But I'll let Danny jump in. Probably, I'm saying.
Same thing as you, to be fair. I don't know, to be fair. I mean, yeah, okay. I would say it has. But again, I don't know. We're down a very. We're just not Richard.
It might be Richard.
My webcam's just died. I'm just going to sit here like this now. There we go.
You've not conked out halfway through the stream.
I'm going to sit like that for the rest of the stream.
I'll be honest, Paul, I think it's been highlighted in the last 100 days how bad things are.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been
more so.
It's the last 12 months. I mean, if we go back to October, I think for me, but just my own view, what has transpired since last October,
Massive divide.
The divide that we suspected was there and that deep down we knew was probably there, has become obviously there, far more obviously there. That's my take on it. And, I think the problems in the Middle East have filtered their way through to the UK and are doing nothing at the moment to settle this country down. And then on top of that, of course, we get a Labour government, which has made things even worse. Richard, what do you think last October?
I was sorry about this, guys. I was on the streets when it was happening in October last year. Looks like I'm on the streets now. I'm not getting attacked by a jihadi, I promise you. So I saw what was happening on the streets, and I was totally horrified by it. This is just a webcam disaster tonight, isn't it? Bear with me, guys. Just give me one more second. That's slightly better.
Yeah, all right. People have taken to the streets. It has separated.
Right, anyone watching now, if you go and grab a seasickness tablet, you'll be all right for the rest. Go on, mate.
Should we just highlight Richard?
No, okay. Look, I do have a sensible answer. So basically, I was last October. We organised probably one of the biggest counter demonstrations to this, and it happened on Armistice Day, and it was largely peaceful. The media blew it up and made it out that it was some sort of mega violent event. But what happened was literally loads of patriots got together, probably 10,000, all men, nearly all men, went to the cenotaph because obviously there was the Islamists were going to march down that route. That's what they were going to do initially, and it all got changed because we put large amounts of boots on the ground, and we did a couple of other things as well. So when I saw after October the 7th, people this was before Israel dropped a bomb or put a boot into Gaza. Islamists celebrating outside the Israeli embassy, lighting flares and waving flags and cheering because 1,200 Jewish people had just been massacred. And this is in the Britain that stood against Nazi Germany and fought for the liberty of the Jewish people and the Czech people and the Polish people that were under the Nazi jackboot. And we've got let's get it right. These people that are marching, they are Nazis. I don't care whether they go under the Socialist Workers banner or whether they go under the Islamist banner. They're no different to the Nazis. They have the same ideologies. They hate Jews. They want to kill them all. They want to wipe Israel off the face of the earth, which is exactly what Hitler tried to do in Europe. And yes, everything changed because, do you know what? The left, Starmer's cronies in the Labour Party, 100% support all this sort of nonsense. That's why he's gone so soft on it. So to me, everything changed. And when we got 5 Islamist MPs, that would be like in the Second World War. That would have been like having 5 members of the Nazi Party sitting in government or sitting in Parliament. And the other thing is, there's lots of these people within the Labour Party as well that support all this sort of nonsense.
Of course, Richard, look, they're not. I'm going to play devil's advocate now. They're not here to defend themselves, and they would say that they're not Islamists and they don't support Hamas publicly, but.
They wouldn't say that. They wouldn't say that because they publicly said that they do support Hamas and they do support. They are Islamists. These guys are Islamists. It's as simple as that.
They're anti-Semites, weren't they? I think the problem the Labour Party had was it was full of anti-Semites, and I think what Starmer did, was had to get rid of those, and I think he rooted them out because remember the Labour Party was divided over this, wasn't it? And they were never going to get elected. And I think that what I think the people in Labour, the reason they don't speak up against Starmer is they know he's going to chuck them out because he's brutal about doing so. Yeah. So I think he rules with a bit of an iron, as much as he can, with a bit of an iron fist. But you're right. I get what you're saying there, and that's not necessarily wrong. I think that's that Labour have always been that. But you have to remember as well, one of the things is Labour is when you're growing up, of course, Che Guevara, that kind of stuff. You're a revolutionary, aren't you? Of course, you're never going to vote Conservative. You're going to vote Labour until you build up a small business like Paul, you get some capital together, you build a house, and then you become a bit more conservative. You want to protect that wealth. So we understand the vocal minority in this country are the young that grow up and they want to, go down and make these protests. I think what we're not talking about, though, more than anything, and I don't want to say necessarily education, but I want to talk about, I'm not going to talk about, I'm just going to put it out there, is IQ levels, is intelligence levels. And I think what we're seeing with certain communities, if the government want to start calling communities, is they're bloody stupid. And I think we just have to say these people are absolutely ignorant. You come to a country, I can never go and live like my brother lives in Dubai. I couldn't go over there to the UAE and do what they're doing here. But they think they can come over here and do it. And of course they can, but they're not intelligent at all. They don't realize the pushback they're going to get. And the success is not going to be successful, whatever they're doing. It doesn't make any sense to me. So
Tim, do they get much of a pushback in many instances? I don't feel that they do in a lot of instances.
Well, we're talking about it now, aren't we? I mean, you know, and it's only going to get more. People in your chat, I'm looking at your chat. You've got some absolute patriots down here. You really do. And I cannot see how this is. See, what we're not listening to is the silent majority because they're silent. You know, my mum would love to talk about this. She can't talk about it. Of course, she can't talk about it. You know, she's my mum. She's not to talk about it with her friends. Of course, she doesn't. There are thousands, millions of people in the UK that don't talk about this kind of stuff outside of the house, but inside the house they're kind of testing the water. They're like, I don't particularly want to not be able to walk through. My wife drove through Birmingham this morning, I think it was, and she was like, oh, it's changed a bit, isn't she? You know, it's just, that's what, you know. I'm like, yeah, it has changed a bit. Not just that, you know, towns all through the UK have changed. Have they changed for the better? Are they cleaner? Are they more respectful? Are the businesses better? Are they generating growth? And no, it's going the other way. The other way. We know that a lot of immigrants coming to this country, and I'm saying a lot because I don't want to label people and everything, are a net negative. They're a drain on society. It's unsustainable. It's not possible that we can sustain this. Country is only going to go one way. So there are people that understand this. They invest in the country by working. They have their families, and they put the kids into school to grow up to also work. We've got to pay for pensions. We understand that. And the other thing as well we're not talking about is why this is really happening, as I said, about GDP growth and stuff. But there are people that are talking about, and I think the main thing, like Richard and Danny and yourself are doing really well, is actually getting people to talk about it. As you said at the beginning, Paul, getting people to wake up just a little bit and just to kind of say, or challenge the politicians. I don't want this. That's why I believe community and family are the most important thing we can do, because we're very strong on that as well.
It also goes, again, we need to go back to the manifestos of all the parties that are trying to get into power, and they just blatantly lie. They lie. They'll tell you, they'll give you a free winning lottery ticket to get in. And as soon as they're in, it all changes, and no one can hold them accountable for what they promised. So how can they get in under false pretenses? It should be illegal.
When you look at the videos that you look at on X and now on social that goes around of Starmer's promises before the election and what he's doing now, simply unbelievable. Epic 2000, UKIP isn't getting publicity. When will this change? I don't think it will, because the mainstream media are never going to touch them now, I don't think. Gray, Starmer looks scared to death in interviews now. He looks like a man that's been found out to me. Epic 2000 again, thank you. Councils are banning bonfire night. Workplaces are cancelling Christmas parties.
It's true.
Many now not raised for poppies. We must make ourselves visible and wear Xmas lanyards, crosses and poppies at work. I mean, look, I said in a video the other day, as far as I'm concerned, it's go woke, go broke time. I will not support any business anywhere. I will not spend my money in any business that wants to promote this nonsense. If they want someone's money, it ain't going to be mine.
They're all stopping it now, Paul. They're all stopping it now, aren't they? We've seen it in America, haven't they? They all said they're stopping it. I think there was some, you know, we know they're stopping coming out. They realise, I think they follow that path because of the ESG thing, the environmental social governance thing, with they want to have the funding, they want to have the ability to get investment from these companies. So they had to, and now they realise it's not working, and they're all coming out of it. But you've got to remember who these people were. We're not vindictive people, but I think one thing we have to remember is how quickly this can manifest itself. Like, no one really saw it coming, and then before you know, we've got people at, you know, trans people at kiddies' birthday parties and schools. Like this, since when was that even allowed? I mean, if I was a father, and I'm not a father, so I understand, you've got jobs, everything else. But after the Southport things, I don't know how I'd let my kid go to a Saturday event without me standing on the door, like watching every other dude that came in. Like, or I'll share it with another dad. Like, let's do half an hour each, whatever, because I couldn't risk it. You know what I mean? And I think the only way we're going to survive this is if poppies, land, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, we have to go overly English. Like, we have to go overly British. It's like, this is not something that you're going to be able to contest. Because I always tell people, and I'm not going to go on a rant now, because I'm not. So
no, go on a rant, mate. Go on a rant.
No. It's your channel, not my channel, your channel. I respect that. But all I'm saying is, I tell people, look, you think that the island, you think England, the British Isles, you think that water is supposed to keep people out. It's not. It's stopping you from leaving. You know what I mean? You haven't got any boats now.
Tim, you're on the right channel to go overly British, to be fair. Yeah. You are on the right channel, mate, because we're all overly British here.
Well, I mean, what is Britishness? I mean, what is being England about? I mean, it's about fairness, about tolerance, about acceptance, about understanding. It's not about being abused, and that's all it is. People taking the piss. I don't need to go over. You know, I sit in my car and I'll rant to my camera and stuff like that. But it's like, we're happy to accept people in. Right? We're always happy to take immigrants in the numbers that Cameron said we're going to take them in the tens of thousands. Cameron said that. You know, Cameron wasn't the only person that went to work for the Chinese, by the way. I had mates flying this airplane that went over to work for Chinese. I had mates flying this. They went over there, and I'm saying to them, guys, come on, hang on a second. You can't expect to go over and work over there for 5 years in China, and then come back here and still declare yourself to be English and British. And it's like you make your bed, you lie in it. So you have to just work out what it really means to be English. And I think we know. I think it means that we are happy to tolerate migrants, immigration in a way that benefits the country and grows everyone. But this is something we don't. And we talk. I know we capitalise on legal immigrants as well, don't we? You just want to have a look at legal.
Legal, yeah.
And the difference is just ridiculous. And I just cannot see any other way. I think I see countries in Europe now shipping people back. You know what I mean? And saying, no, you're going back on. And I don't see how, apart from the fact our government is so lefty and woke, I don't see how we're not going to be doing that in a couple of years ourselves. I don't see how else we can do it.
I don't see the Labour government ever getting involved in anything like that.
Not a chance.
But what about services, Paul? What about your kids can't get into school, or your kids are getting, and I hate to say it, 'cause I don't want your channel to be, but your kids are getting, let's say, like what happened at Southport.
Yeah.
Like, because we are that tolerant. We tolerate that. There was actually one family, it made me really upset. There was a mother and a father whose daughter had been one of the victims, unfortunately, in that. And they were pushing back. And you could tell that the government had got to them. And the government have obviously said, it's important, it's a difficult subject, we've got to embrace immigrants and everything, all that kind of stuff. And they were angry, rightly so. They've lost it's a ridiculous thing. They've lost their daughter. If it was me, and I'll say this publicly now, because the Home Office know this for a fact. I know all the leaders of the Home Office, 100%. I know exactly who they are. I know everything. If it happened to a family member of me and you've got nothing to live for, who do you think we're going to come for? You're going to come for the people that allowed it to happen. Now, I know that I've been told before to calm that kind of rhetoric down, and I do calm it down. But you have to let the people in charge know that there's not many of them and there are many of us. It's a pretty simple thing. We're not a revolutionary nation, but we're not going to be taken over either. So they play a very fine line here. You know what I mean? They really, really do. And I think Tommy proved that in London. It's like, look around you. These are fit, able, patriotic people that are super tolerant. What happens when you're super tolerant? You reach a point at which it just explodes. It just says, right, we're super tolerant. It's not like you start getting that kind of the French thing. The French were murmur. We're going to have some strikes, put some vests on. We're going to throw things at the police. And you can see it doesn't happen like that in the UK. It just happens. And then we go and destroy the world because that's what we do. And we're very good at doing so. And we've done it for many, many years. So that's how I feel about it. And I just think, I like the fact we're tolerant because we do accept this to a point. And then it's going to go mad.
And it goes too far. Who's your choice, Tim, for if you could pick a prime minister, who would it be?
I've gone through some weird, crazy ones in the past, but I don't think it's really about that now. You'd have to get a leader in, and I don't really see, unless you can come up with some crazy names that I haven't even thought of, but I don't know who you'd put in.
Richard Inman?
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, second minute. See how it goes. Never know, do you? No, I just don't think there's anyone in politics right now that is inspiring. I like the Jacob Rees-Mogg. I mean, he's funny. I'm not saying you put him in, but he's a character.
He's good though.
He is good, yeah. And maybe you need someone like that. I even thought, and I hate to say it, before Rory Stewart went all liberal and left. When I read Rory's books back in the day, and Rory seemed like quite an honourable man. He taught the Prince's History. I know people do not get on with. I don't get on with him now. I know he's a liberal. He's with Alistair Campbell, isn't he, on that podcast? But there was a time where I thought someone like Rory could have done a lot of good in certain positions. He was prison minister, but he could have done a lot of good in the senior elements if he'd been given the chance. Not now. I just can't see anyone. Unless, who do you think? Who are we missing here? Who would be like the leader that people would listen to and go, you know what, he's talking a little bit of sense?
For me, the man that speaks the most sense is Ben Habib.
Well, yeah,
completely
I think so.
Agree. I knew you was going to say that.
Ben,
I agree.
all day long.
I agree. Ben he's a proper patriot. He's done massive amounts in Northern Ireland about the betrayal of Brexit that Boris pushed on us all. I told everyone Boris was a liar, but nobody believed me. But Ben was on it from the very beginning, and he's put his money where his mouth is on all that. He took the judicial review, he took legal action. So to me, Ben Habib would make a fantastic prime minister, and we need to see people like Ben, because I've met Ben Habib, and he's a straight shooter. He what you see is what you get. He's no different in person as he is on TV. He's exactly the same. There's not many people like that,
Yeah, I think my dream team will be someone like Ben and alongside Lee Anderson, something like. I think Lee's a good guy. But Ben
I mean, we haven't even
choice.
touched on what's coming up in the next couple of weeks, have we? What's it? Just over 2 weeks' time, the budget. I mean, they have quite blatantly said that this is going to be painful.
Well,
I mean, today,
they're looking to kill us all. I think
yesterday. Rachel Reeves is talking now about reducing the tax-free amount you can take from your pension. So you can take 25% of your tax-free pension. I mean, I think the pension limit is 268,000 to take tax-free. But obviously, you've been in a successful job to put that sort of money into a pension. But they're talking about reducing that down to 100,000. And interestingly, she's a chancellor, and she's just paid £1,225 to someone to do her tax returns. I mean, she's the Chancellor of the UK. Surely she's able to do her own self-assessment. Do you know what I mean?
The thing is, what I think they might be doing, they might be playing a few mind games. I mean, there's so many rumours going around: an exit tax, a savings tax, capital gains is going to go up, etc. So I think there's going to be so many rumours that when we get it, they'll be able to go, well, it wasn't as bad as you thought.
Wasn't that bad, was it? Yeah. They've got
Well,
to do
maybe
something
that's the thing. Yeah.
David, thank you, David. Good to see Tim on board tonight. Keep up the good work, guys. See you all on the 26th.
Man, that guy's got a solid beard. I remember use of David's beard there. You see his beard? His beard was massive. What's going on there? You have to give that guy a call. What's going on? What are you doing with your beard? I'm going to get mine massive as well.
LJ, thank you very much. Did a course in January. It got highlighted when the leaflets pushing the government's agenda. I started researching, then came across the marches. SMH, thank you very much for that. The real John Doe. We've accepted an offer on our house. Work accepted applications to go remote. Schools are almost sorted. Did not expect to be doing this, but we're off.
Oh, really? Where are they going?
Mate, where are you going, John? And I wish you all the best.
Luck in the chat.
Sufferfish, thank you. Did you see the protest in Dublin? Police kettled them. I didn't see that. It was at today. I tell you what I did see today. Let's have a little look at. Let me just move that chat there 1 second. I tell you what I did see today. Went on in Birmingham, I believe.
Yeah, there we go.
Now, to be fair, it all looks fairly peaceful from what I can see, but GB News reporting that Palestine protesters demanded Israel to be eradicated, as they also chant for the UK to be shut down. Now, if this is true, and I wasn't there, but if this is true, if what GB News are saying is true, where are the police to be going in with snack squads, arresting these people, getting them through the court systems as quickly as they did with the recent problems after Southport, and getting them through the system and in jail where they belong, or preferably out the bloody country?
They ain't got no room in the jails.
Well, that is true. My sister's a police officer. She's a detective still. And what she would say is, you are outnumbered. There's no two ways about it. You're outnumbered. All right. And we know that. I think 70% of police today have less than 5 years experience. It's just is the way it is. We know why that is. And it is Theresa May getting rid of 20,000 police and support staff. So you got rid of a lot of experienced guys that stepped, and girls, of course. And you've just got these youngins now, unfortunately. And it just is what it is, right? You're not going to wade in there, are you? Like the Germans are doing. We've seen other people with crowd control. But what you can do, the police are doing, I'm not defending the police, but what the police are doing, or I will a little bit because my sister's one, is they are taking photography of people in there, and then they are arresting on the back end. It's a softer approach to arrest, but a lot of people are still getting arrested. And remember, they need to build cases here. So they will take pictures of people in that one. They'll take pictures of the other one. They will say, right, you're doing this, you're doing this. You know, you can tell you're masked. I would get rid of masks straight away.
Yeah.
Right. No one's masked. Even if you're on a bike cycling around London, no mask. If you are wearing a mask, I'm stopping you. I'm identifying you. You know, I'm looking through your bags. So masks go, because we know obviously people are using masks. Like, weak men, right, putting masks on because they don't want to stand there and do what you're doing, showing your face on camera. Like you're putting your faces on camera and you're standing by your words. That's so rare nowadays that people actually do it. So people cover their faces, don't they, because they're little boys. It's ridiculous, right? So get rid of masks. And what the police are doing is taking pictures, they're building cases, and they are prosecuting people. It's a lot of time we just don't hear it because it's not something, we'd much rather, the press much rather put in people that are sending those tweets or putting stuff on Facebook because it keeps us down, Paul. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. What have I got here?
Can we just focus in on that video? I don't know if you want to put it up again, right?
Which one was it? The first one or the second one?
The first one. The first one with the guy dressed. Well,
sorry, Richard, say that again.
That guy there that was dressed up, he was dressed as a paraglider. So he's dressed as one of these guys that went over the border and landed at the Nova Film Festival and slaughtered women and children the age of my daughter and granddaughter. That's what that guy's glorifying. That guy should be arrested and not even just deported straight away. Just get rid of it.
Let's have another look.
I haven't seen that, but that's a good point, actually. I hadn't seen that at all.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely is. Yeah.
We're saying it's a bloke. Could be a woman.
Absolutely enrages me because that's glorifying terrorism. That's a criminal offence in the UK. Simple as that. 14 years in prison. That's it.
Mind-boggling. As I say, we stand by. People like us, we stand by and see these people getting away with it. Would they put up with that sort of nonsense if those people were regular Brits? The answer is no. Cheshire
go back to the two-tier, don't we?
Music, exactly. Foreign-run businesses closed today for illegal activity in Widnes, Cheshire. 3 in the past 2 months alone. Hope to make it. Could be. Hope to make it to London on the 26th.
Interesting.
Betty Boo, 1972. Thank you. Did you guys see Germany last night when the Islamists took to the streets demanding a caliphate? That'll be the UK next. I mean, I just don't understand how the authorities let them get away with this stuff. But I've got a little stat here today that's, I don't know if it's new or it's the latest one, but MI5, is it, or MI6? 75% of those on the watch list are Islamists. And a large percentage of them are under 18. And that's a very, very, very worrying stat because that's not people that have come to live here. That's people that were born here. So what's going wrong in the home for them to hate the country that they were born in and are growing up in?
Education.
Yeah, I was about to say teaching, weak teachers.
Yeah.
I didn't have weak teachers.
Woke left teachers.
Weak teachings, but also it's got to have come from home, right? Surely, wouldn't you think?
Fathers, maybe, yeah.
I think, again, if we look at the level of... People are just not understanding the level of radicalisation in the UK. 52% of mosques are either Deobandi or Salafi in the UK. So Deobandi is what the Taliban came from. ISIS came from the Salafists. So that's UK mosques. Go on, check out the mosque directory. The stats are all there.
What we need is for the good people in the Islamic community to step forward and take on these people themselves, don't we? But I don't think that's going to happen.
No, because they can't within the communities. Because I've heard this as well. It's very difficult within the communities because they're going to be, abused themselves if they do. I've always said this though, Paul, and I realised saying it was probably a little bit ill-advised because I said, look, the Muslim community has to, when we talk about Muslim communities, has to stand up within its own community and basically go against the Islamists within that community. But it's very easy to say that when I tell you the biggest problem that we've got is we're all trapped in mortgages in the UK. So a lot of people are working literally month to month. They rely on that paycheck. They can't rock the boat because they can't then pay the mortgage, and then the life falls apart. So we've been trapped in this. We have to, literally everything we buy.
Form of slavery.
Yeah, exactly that, and that's exactly what I'm getting onto. Yeah.
Would there be a case for the government reaching out and offering people within that community some kind of extra protection or assurance that they can come forward?
We couldn't protect the Batley teacher, could we? So what hope do they have?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and
they're still in hiding, right?
Yeah, that's right.
the problem is that they're in the police force. We know that from what happened when there was the guy calling for jihad, and the advisor to the Met said, "Oh no, it doesn't actually mean he's not actually calling for holy war," even though he was quite clearly calling for holy war. The guy from Hizbut Tahrir, he wasn't arrested because the police advisor said, "No, there's lots of different nuanced meanings of jihad," which is true. But the meaning he was saying was, "Let's have a holy war against Israel." It was very, very explicit. But the Met didn't arrest him because of the police advisor that they had in the ops room. So the whole of our establishment is completely infested. And the other thing we've got to think about is Qatari, Saudi, and even Iranian money and influence. There's a massive amount of Middle Eastern money sloshing around the UK, which is not making people, but particularly the Qataris. How much of London do the Qataris own? I mean, they own Harrods now, for goodness sake. They own everything,
Yeah, and the Russians and stuff as well.
Yeah, the Chinese as well. So there's so much. I think what we don't realise is our government and our establishment are so corrupt and so twisted, whether it's Labour or Conservative. There needs to be a peaceful political revolution in this country, and it needs to happen fast, because otherwise 10 years we're going to be gone. And I'm like you, Tim, I'm going nowhere. I'm not leaving the UK. I'm living in Northern Ireland. I'm never leaving Northern Ireland.
Yeah, exactly. We get buried here. Why would you not want to be buried? It's that flag there. You're wrap me in that flag when I die. That's how I'm going to be. Wrap me in that and put me in the ground. That's 100%.
Yep, I'm with you.
Ashley, thank you very much. Watch the Hamas salute with the finger pointing upwards. Yeah, we see that all the time. Again, they try and talk their way out of that one as well, don't they? And it means something else.
Paul, can we get on to the 26? Like, just to give us a bit of information. Richard's probably better placed to do that than anyone. But
far away, Richard.
Okay, so 26. We've got meetings with the police. 2 meetings next week. One's on the ground. I'll not give the date of that one out. But the other one, me and Tommy are meeting them tomorrow at 3:30 online, and we'll be going through the finer points just to get all the locations nailed down. But one location I can definitely give out: Victoria Station at 11 o'clock. We start mustering, because I think we're going to have a massive crowd. So the earlier you get there, the better. I expect probably 100,000, to be honest with you. The way the internet's blown up on this, it's going to be an absolutely massive crowd. So 11 o'clock, Victoria Station. Once you get Victoria Station, there'll be stewards will meet you there. They'll guide you where to go, what roads to go down. And all you have to do really is get to Victoria Station for 11 o'clock. We step off at 1. The demonstration will start 1:30, 2. There's going to be loads and loads of speakers, loads of great entertainment, singing again. There's going to be a great documentary. And again, I'm privy to some of the stuff that's going in the documentary. Well worth watching. It's going to last about 3.5 hours. And then we'll bug out probably about 5 o'clock, and that'll be job done. It's going to be extremely safe. We've got lots of security measures. We've put together a security team. I think we're 45 people in the security team, most of them ex-military, ex-police, nightclub doorman.
Spotters. We've got spotters, haven't we? Spotters, and yeah.
We've got metal detectors. We've got sniffer dogs. We've got people with binoculars. It's all it's been planned with military precision this time, and obviously we got all the usual people that'll be there as well. So it's going to be a really, really good event. And listen, the bottom line is we've got to send a message to Keir Starmer that he can't get away with bullying and intimidating working class Brits. And this is what it's about. It's about waking up working class British people to what's going on. And like you were saying, Tim, we've got to get out of this panic. Oh, I can't pay my mortgage. I can't pay my bills. Just suck it up and just get boots on the ground and just do what needs to be done. But we need that. We need a lot of people there.
I think Keir Starmer has a genuine dislike for the white working class.
Totally.
I really do.
Totally.
I really do.
Yeah.
Betty Boo, thank you. She says, I blame the Moss for radicalising young people. Everyone that I've seen on video are condemning the West. We never really know what goes on inside those places, do we, to be fair?
Go and visit them. You can go and visit them, but they're going to, I guess, they'll show you around and stuff. I don't know. Again, the community, and I saw someone in the chat here, Paul, just 2 seconds, saying, I think Tommy's got some Muslim friends and they're great. I taught Muslim pilots and they're great as well. We're not talking about those. And that's the way that we split people and we stop people talking about it. We're talking about the weight of immigration and how that's changing the country and how that's going to irreparably change the country over the next 2 decades. It's unsustainable. Like by 2040, I think London's 37% white at the moment. That's our capital city.
Yeah.
And then we go Birmingham, Leeds, we go to the rest of them if you want, you know what I mean? So we understand, I've got a Muslim mate, absolutely, 100%. But it's the weight of immigration, not just Muslims, Albanians, everything else as well.
Yeah, when the immigration is outweighing the growth of the infrastructure, it's unsustainable. I mean, someone said to me, I've been feeling rough last 24 hours. Someone said to me, oh, you need to go see the doctor. See the doctor? You're having a laugh. I mean, it's just a complete, and I wouldn't even ring.
But it affects them as well, Paul. It affects the immigrants as well. So the problem is, it's not just us it affects as ethnic British. It affects the immigrant population when there's too many people coming to the UK. So they can't get their kids seen or their kids into school. So that's why it should be controlled. So no one's angry at immigrants, but angry at the government for not controlling the levels of immigration and actually abusing the British people.
Tim, I've often said in the past, and people might not even like me for it, I'm not even angry with the illegal asylum seekers. They're trying to better themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
They're doing the best for themselves. I mean, like, everyone does the best for themselves. That's human nature. I blame the people who are allowing it all.
Yeah.
I don't have any hatred in my heart for those people, but I do once if they do something wrong.
Of course.
But for just trying to better your lives, I get that. We all try and do that, but it's those that are facilitating.
Paul, did you hear, interestingly, and I've not researched this, but apparently it's true. They are now going to offer train drivers £300 if they do a 5-day week against a 4-day week. So they get £300 on top of their wage.
Train drivers.
Yeah, so now they've gone 4 days a week. And now they're going to get, if they work the 5 days, they get £300 for bonus. They'll obviously get their overtime as well. £300 bonus per week if they work the 5 days a week. So that's another £1,200.
They're earning more money than jet pilots. These
unbelievable.
They just are earning more money than these guys here. It's crazy.
That is unbelievable. More money than a jet pilot.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I mean, a jet pilot's on 45 grand or something. You know what I'm saying? That's what the guys I teach on 45 grand. They stay there unless they promote up. It's quite hard in a very shrinking service that's full of diversity and equity and inclusion for an ethnic white British guy to actually promote anyway, because we know we don't want those guys at the top. Doesn't fit the quota, does it? We did videos on this before. So yeah, these guys, seriously, these guys are going out to theatre. I mean, you get, this is a hard job, and it takes 14 hours a day. 12, 14 hours a day, that's your minimum you're doing to do that. To stay current on these airplanes here is hard. It burns people out. I mean, I've been asked
Tim, have a word with a few of them, mate. Get them in the trains. Get them in the trains, mate.
Well,
they'll learn a lot more, especially if they want to do 5 days a week.
Tim, can I ask you, the recent events where the Royal Air Force was involved over in the Middle East, do you have any idea what they would have been doing?
Yeah, so they go up there and obviously protecting a line, what we call a forward line of troops. So they'll be off Cyprus, making sure. I mean, a lot of it, when I was flying out of Cyprus for a bit, we could hear the Israelis going across into Gaza and the West Bank and everything, doing some bombing raids and stuff. So we could hear them on the radio, you know what I mean? So it does happen. So what the Royal Air Force will do is go up there. They'll look for any of those drones coming across. The anti-drone capability of Typhoon and certain aircraft is something that obviously I'm not overly aware of anymore because I've been out for 6 years. But when I was in, we didn't have that capability on board the aircraft necessarily. And most people don't. It's quite hard to shoot down drones from airplanes. And if you do shoot down a drone, you're firing a £1 million missile that certainly costs 45 pence. You know what I mean? It's like the economy of scale doesn't really work out. But for where the drones are coming out from, so whether Iran or everywhere else, they're doing really well out of it because they're just bleeding us dry of cash, aren't they? So what they'll do is they'll sit up there and they'll basically just listen in. They'll protect like the frontier, make sure nothing comes past a certain line, and they're putting guys out there. And
when we talk about drones, I imagine your DJI Mavic Pro or something. I mean, what are we talking about? Drones?
Yeah, so you can have those if you want. Yeah, exactly. Strap something to those. And that's what they were using in Ukraine very early on, wasn't it? They were just whatever they could get, they were strapping something to it, flying over, either using it for optics to have a look, or they were literally dropping like a grenade or flying the whole drone in with something with an impact fuse on the front. But now, with that, they learn the technology. So the proliferation of manufacturing in-house is getting a lot better. And of course, we do have our own forces out in Ukraine in support training roles, let's just say. And of course, we'll be bringing that technology in, working out. And it's safe for the country, although I could argue it's not necessarily our place to be there, but whatever, it's fine. Everyone's on different sides, aren't they? You know what I mean? I understand that. It's about the media, isn't it? The media, whatever you're reading is the side you're going to be on, because we've lost the potential for independent thought. We can't think independently. So yeah, they will be looking at, how can we manufacture something that goes a certain distance. Remember the Second World War, with the V bombers and stuff, the drones that came over London. It's just the development on that. It's got smaller, haven't they? So.
Yeah, I think they were huge back then, weren't they? Doodle bugs, they called them, didn't
Doodlebugs,
they?
that's it. Yeah, you used to tip the Spitfires, you'd tip the wings of them, and they used to, go in and crash in orphanages and horrible stuff. But
Yeah, I remember some of my family saying that they used to dread the doodle bugs. Dave Lilly, thank you, Dave. Did you see what Poland are doing? I wish the UK would get some balls like them. Yes, the Polish have been quite firm, I just don't see that happening here. It's just not the British way, is it?
What are they doing?
Unfortunately.
What are they doing for? What
Well, they've just been rounding people up, and they've been very harsh with them at the border. I think they've even been using firearms in some cases. I'm not entirely sure, but I know they've been very what's the word, aggressive,
had a soldier killed, didn't they? I think on the border, one of their soldiers was killed, and and now they've. Yeah, well, I think they've got a bit of a left socialist government in Poland now, haven't they? I've been reading recently, and I think they're going to be accepting migrants now. Whereas Hungary, under Viktor Orban, he's pretty much massively stiff-armed it, isn't he? And said, no, it's not coming in here.
I don't see the Polish people accepting that. Yeah, go on, mate.
Tim, on the Israeli, the Israel-Middle East conflict, what do you think Israel can do in Iran in terms of their capabilities of striking at the targets, in other words, striking their nuclear program? Do you think Iran can do that? What's your expert opinion on what happened there?
Well, I'm not an expert for a start, and when people tell you they're an expert, be very careful, because they're not, right? So, but you have to remember, Israel will act independently of America, much to the dismay of America, of course, but it will if it needs to, because of course it sees, and rightly so, that this is a massive existential threat that's been going on for decades now, and of course it wants this to be the last time it goes up against Hezbollah, the last time it goes up against Hamas, and of course all these groups are being sponsored by Iran. To be fair, someone says, what side are you on, Tim? I'm like, fuck this shit, how far do you want to go back? Because, we can go back to, dinosaur ages if you want to. Whose land is it really? And really, all I'm saying is when we go back to last October, if someone had done that to my family, I wouldn't be stopping now. I've got a bit of tit for tat. Is that, no, I'd be killing everyone. And then their pets and everything else. I mean, it wouldn't end. It'd be turbo style. I'd be like Terminator. So I understand that. It's not just what we would say a just conflict. We look at it through British eyes. We say, well, it looks if someone attacked us. No, in Israel, they're trying to destroy. They're trying to get rid of the Jewish population off the planet of the earth. There's 16 million Jews, and there's like 2 billion Muslims. It's a little bit imbalanced, you know what I mean? It's a little. So as far as the Jews are concerned, they will do whatever they can to protect themselves, and that means a preemptive strike into Iran. They're going to do it. Full stop. They're going to do it when they receive American equipment. By the way. They buy American equipment. I used to work for a company, like a defense company, very briefly. With I don't know to go details or anything. They would modify the hell out of everything they bought. They weren't allowed to. They just do it anyway. They're exceptionally clever with what they do as well. The Israelis, they're very, very good, and everyone is bought into it. So you see, don't you, people in supermarkets with rifles on, all bought into it. It's a universal, total war policy out there. And I'm interested in going to Israel. And I'd like to go and see what's going on. But they really are in a way that we find difficult to understand. It's like Ukraine, Russia. We don't understand it because we're not Russian. We're not Ukrainian. Same thing with Israel. And until you experience what happened on the southern border, what happened in October, until I speak to people that have experienced it, and they were like, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, this is the end now. We're just going to destroy everyone so it doesn't happen again. I mean, my sister is not on the side my sister, it's funny. I'd be down there with Tommy and his march and everything. My sister would be on the Palestine ones on the other side of the city, you know what I mean? She would be. It's funny. So you can imagine the family dinners are quite interesting, aren't they? You know what I mean? Nice chat. But also, you get to the point where logic doesn't work anymore. It's emotion with her. So you say, all right, I'll tell you what, let's go and find out all those films that happened in October. So let's play the films. She said, didn't happen. She said she would say something like, well, Israelis, they murdered their own, they gunships and stuff. And so that narrative has come from somewhere that she's followed because she's watched something. I've watched something else. Difference between me and her, of course, I don't rely on emotion, I rely on fact. So I'll go digging and I'll try and disprove my theories. I'll try and disprove what I've seen. I've seen this. Let's disprove it. Let's go to the left. Let's see what the left are reading. Let's disprove this. I can't disprove it. I genuinely can't. What happened was so horrific. It's almost like the modern day. I don't even say the word, you know what I mean? What happened in the Second World War.
Yeah.
So that's how they feel about it. And, we just can't understand it. So, yeah, if they went and attacked Iran, fair play. I Okay, and the reason they don't is because America's saying don't do it. You know, we're saying don't do it because we've got other means. We'd talk it out and shit like this. But if you're Israeli, it makes a lot of sense.
Can you talk it out? I don't think you can. I
Well,
mean,
they try.
They've tried on. Look, I was watching a really interesting interview with the former Israeli Prime Minister yesterday, and he's pretty sure that they are going to try and take out Iran's nuclear capability, or try and prevent them from developing their nuclear program, because he said that, look, we're fighting a war for the rest of the world here. I mean, Iran cannot get their hands on nuclear weapons.
I totally agree. I mean, they reckon they're 2 months out from having a nuke ready to go. That's what some American diplomat that's working with all this stuff is saying.
I mean, can you imagine them mad mullahs with a nuclear weapon?
They'd use it. They would. I mean, they've launched 180 ballistic missiles against Israel in one night, in one strike. They're not going to think twice. And if one of those that went over was nuclear armed, it only takes one to get through. And Tel Aviv's the car park.
Yeah, there's a difference, isn't there, between Christianity and Islam, where Islam celebrates death and Christianity celebrates life. It's just a different thing, isn't it? So where do you want to be? I mean, personally, I'm a Christian man, you know what I mean? I don't particularly...
And the really sad part of it is that I believe in my heart that Iranian people are actually lovely people.
They are. Of course they are. Of course they are.
Every Iranian that I've ever met has been a lovely, lovely individual.
Yep. Same as.
The women are very attractive as well. The women are very attractive.
Very, yeah. I have personally, I've got to say, I've never met an Iranian that I didn't like.
Yeah, but they're actually quite hostile to their own regime, aren't they, as well? A lot of the Iranian people.
They are, yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, if Israel could topple that regime, they'd be doing the Iranian people a massive favour.
Yeah.
It's so complex, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, they want them out. They want them out, absolutely. Last super chat of the night. Thank you very much, Robert. Loads. They could better their lives by building up their own countries as we did after World War II. Thank you very much, Robert. Really appreciate that. It's been great having you on tonight, guys. Tim, just give your channel a shout out. Everyone watching tonight, please get over there and subscribe.
That's Fast Jet Performance. We talk about aviation content, but I just can't not support the flag that I served under for 20 years and might go and serve again for another 9, as they've asked me to go and do recently. So
absolutely. Is that a serious consideration for you?
The money's good, Paul, to be fair, and you know what I mean, we start talking like this and people don't offer you work. But the school that I run, it's good. I was having a big chat with my boys in the school today, do always a Sunday session, but yeah, they're offering big money for guys like me with the experience to come back and teach people to fly this airplane, because everyone left and went to Saudi Arabia, didn't they? Went to China. Teach out on massive money as well. I never went because I don't want to go. But
I've got a question for you. I've got a question. Could I take you down my local airfield? Could you literally climb into any plane and fly it?
Well, I probably could now because I'd be teaching in a virtual school, but I haven't got a license, no. So when you come off flying these airplanes here, there's no license, you have nothing. I can't fly a glider, I can't fly anything, I couldn't do anything at all. So when my brother went to the airlines, my brother was a Hercules pilot, multi-engine. He went to the airlines, he had to do all 12 exams with the airlines. So the Air Force doesn't give you anything because if it gave you something, it fears you'd leave. Our argument being, if you did like the French, have a progressive scheme, a managed path into the airlines, and you stay longer because you know your future's assured. So unfortunately, no, when you leave, I couldn't do it legally, but who cares about legalities, right? We're going to do it anyway.
I would say theoretically, could you fly that plane? Could you fly most of those?
It's got a key and everything. Yeah, you get little check cards out, key. Yes, it's all right. It'll be all right. I mean, I can't guarantee we get back, but what's the land anyway? You know what I mean? It doesn't matter.
Brilliant.
You're right. We'll get able.
Tim, it's been great to have you on. Richard, great to have you on as always. We will be speaking tomorrow, no doubt. Danny, I'll be seeing you very soon as well. Thank you all for joining us. It's been a wonderful evening. It's Monday tomorrow. Everyone's back to work. Oh, that's not so good, is it?
That's all right. Go on.
That is not so good. Oh, we got, let's have a look. We got another super chat. No more tonight, guys. Thank you very much. This is the last one. Epic 2000. Israel give free IVF up to 2 kids. They are patriotic and look after their people. Nothing like the UK. The birth rate is 3, double the UK. Yeah, our birth rate does indeed need to start rising. Right, have a great week, everyone. Thanks for coming on, gents. Yeah, no, mind you, Danny's doing his bit.
I knew that was coming.
Danny's doing his bit.
I'm just trying to prop up the British passports, mate.
Keeping the British end up.
Have a great week, everyone. Take care. See you later.
Ta-ra.